Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land or whatever you kids today call it. I'm Doug. Not a YouTuber. I don't do this to try to make a living, get any likes. Making this video just to try to educate some people properly. Because I've got a little project here. This is 1988 Yamaha BW80. They share a lot of characteristics, the same as the PWs. But during the build of this project, or somewhat restoration of this project, I guess, I was trying to do some refreshment on my mind. I used to be a Yamaha mechanic, along with a Polaris mechanic, for about 10 years or so. And this is just a little side project for myself, just to be a little play toy. And there was some information I was looking for on this particular machine. And like I said, they share a lot with the PW80s. But that's about the only thing you can ever find. You can't find anything on a BW, which is fine for most of what I was trying to look for. Problem is there are tons and tons of videos of the PWs, and 95% of them are all misinformation and watching people destroy stuff. Not properly educating anybody on anything, with their Chinese cylinders, Chinese carburetors, removing oil injections, because they think either the oil injection doesn't work or they think it's going to run faster because it's pre-mixed. That's all false information. I will tell you right now, in 30 years of working on bikes, oil injection, two-strokes and whatnot, I have never once in my life ever seen an oil injection system go bad. Why does it go bad, or people think it goes bad? Is because of operator error, running incorrect oils, running it out of oil, or leaving your fill cap off and getting dirt in the tank and nobody bothers to clean it out. Then it plugs up, causing failure. The pump itself did not fail. The pump actually is great. Some people think, oh, it fouls your plugs out because it runs too rich. There's no way to adjust it, to adjust how much oil you get. That's all false information. So I'm going to try to show you a little bit on this if anybody out there cares to try to keep their oil injection on, because it is pretty nice. You don't have to mix gas. You just dump straight gas in, you go. And if it's working correctly and you're running a good oil, you should have no issues fouling spark plugs as long as you have good oil and you have your pump and everything adjusted correctly. So now, if you're in question of your pump not working, and I'm not saying it can't happen, because it can. There's always mechanical failures that can always happen. But here's one thing that you can do before just eliminating it altogether. And I just got done doing it on this particular machine here, because like I said, I'm doing a light restoration on it. It's going to be a play toy. I'm going to keep riding it. It's not going on a shelf or nothing, so I ain't worried about everything being too pretty on it. But just put a new piston and rings in it. It's a factory cylinder, factory head, piston and rings. It was all within spec. Didn't have to bore it. Got lucky. If you still have your factory cylinder, I recommend boring it and buying the proper piston. And do not buy all the Chinese stuff that's $50. It might cost you $25, $30 to get your cylinder bored correctly. And it may cost you $80 to $100 for the correct, good piston versus the Chinese junk. But I promise you, in the long run, it will last longer and perform better for you. But this pump here, this particular pump, as you can see here, try to get some light somewhere where you can see it. They are adjustable. Everybody, I've seen videos, people say, oh, you can't adjust them. Yes, you can. You can 100% adjust them. It is not an issue. There is, try to hold my phone and get some light up here where you can actually see. If you look, I have the cover off. I mean, here's your cover. There's a round plug here on one side, which exposes this side of your oil pump if this was on here. So if you pop that plug out and you look, let me get something here to point with. If you look right here, there's a notch. It goes across this cam that your cable actually hooks into. Now, just across from there, over here on the aluminum housing, there's another notch here. That's telling you it's in a closed position right now. I have no cable hooked up to it, so it's in a closed position. If that is moved up I'll try to move it here. If this is up, that means you have the pump opened up. Which, how does that happen? You have an adjustment right here on your cable that adjusts the tension to that cam that's attached to. So as you roll your throttle, it pulls that cable, which rotates that drum there, which opens that oil pump. Now, you need to set your carburetor, get it at 0, set your pump at 0. Grab your throttle handle, roll that handle. As you start to progress with that handle, you should start seeing this pump move. But when you let off the handle, it should return back to where both of those are lined back up. If you're sticking up above, you're going to keep dumping oil, and that's going to give you a fouling issue. Now, next thing, if you trying to get your system going because somebody was running it on premix and still had this in here and there's no oil in the tank, or you've ever ran it out of oil and hopefully didn't burn your engine up, there is what's called a bleeder screw. I watch people trying to bleed them out, just sitting there kicking them, or starting them with premix gas in them because they couldn't get no oil to come out of the oil line. Well, right here, if this is the front of the pump, I'm trying to get you a good shot. You're looking at the front of the pump here. There's actually a bleed screw, just like on brakes. That screw right there, that gold screw with the Phillips in the center of it. Crack that loose, pull it out. You got oil in your tank, it should start pouring out of there. If it doesn't, that means you have a blockage somewhere. This particular machine was blocked all up. Somebody had ran it without the lid up on the tank at some point, filled it full of mud, so the oil line, everything was packed full of grass and mud. I had to flush it all out. I just got it back on, everything's pumped up. Now, you can take this pump off and test it on the bench if you'd like. Once again, it'll be taking that screw out, and then there's a screw just below, if I can get a view of it, down there at the bottom. There it is. You can see my screwdriver in it. That screw there, one at the top. Pop those two screws out. Now, it is on an O-ring that holds it in there, so you'll have to wiggle. It'll eventually come out. But there's just enough on the end of that shaft that you can actually hook it into a cordless drill and hook that oil line into a tank of oil, this one off the bike or whatever, and you can crank that over. This one here, I had to flush out the pump because it was packed full of mud and grass and everything else. So I had to blow air pressure through it, reverse through the air bleed screw, blowed it all out. Boom. Once I did that, I hooked it to the oil tank, turned it with my drill. The oil line that runs to the carburetor, I watched it pumped out, but I had to you have to open up the control on it. You have to pull that open to let it flow. I got flow. So now my pump is working. Everything should be proper. So once I hook everything up, I'll make the adjustments. But I just wanted to throw that out there because, like I said, I may make another couple videos on some other things. But, yeah, just some little tiny things I was trying to refresh my mind on, and I come across a wormhole of nothing but disinformation on these machines. And it's a shame because a lot of people's wasting good money trying to fix something themselves to save a buck, and you end up costing yourself in the end, junk your machine and end up selling it. Hopefully this will help somebody out. Anything maybe I can try to steer you in the right direction on. I'm not always up and going on YouTube or whatever, but I just thought this something that maybe should get out there to help some people out. But anyways, good oil, like I said, is another thing. And there are different types of oils too. I should make that a good thing to throw out there. Not all oils are compatible. Just because it says 2-stroke on it does not mean it's compatible with what you have in that tank or even what you have in your premix. You can premix two different oils together and it will cause an issue. It will literally clump up, glob up, or whatever, separate, because the two different oils will not mix with each other. And that's an issue with your oil tank, and it's also an issue in your fuel tank if you're premixing. So keep that in mind. Get the oil that you're planning to run and stick with it as best you can, unless you've done a little research and noted it's compatible to mix with another oil that maybe that's the only thing you can get a hold of in a pinch. I myself prefer Klotz, and that right there can be ran as premix or oil injection. Not all oils are for oil injection. And once again, like I said, not all oils will mix compatible with each other. So know what you're doing, or educate yourself if you don't, and good luck to you, and hopefully this helps some people out, and see you out on the trail.